What's up, everybody? Welcome inside the MRN studios. It is another edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. Whelen Engineering. My name is Chris Wilmer, MRN pit reporter. As always, my co-host Kyle Rickey, MRN announcer out in Connecticut. Rick, all things NASCAR regional starting to dwindle down. We're starting to come to the checkered flag of the 2024 season. More racetracks have shut their doors for the year. How was your weekend? You had a big one up at Thompson. We had not only the modified tour, but the whole World Series up at Thompson Motor Speedway over the weekend. How was your weekend up there in New England?
Yeah, super modifieds, midget, street stocks, late models, you name it. The ACT cars were there, the Pro All-Star Series, about 15 divisions. Great day on Saturday, great evening on Friday night, but boy, did it get cold on Sunday. Racing the rain, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour scrap qualifying because they wanted to get the event in right at the top of the day at 1 o'clock. So, and they did, and it ended up raining about 30 minutes later. So, but overall, a great weekend. Good crowd came out, especially on Saturday for the full day of racing. And yeah, with the World Series behind us, there's not a whole lot left. I mean, we're down to two modified tour races and 2 ARCA West races, and then that's about it when it comes to the platforms that we cover. The Cars Tour wrap up this weekend as well. Absolutely,
yeah. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty, and of course, one of our special guest this week is actually the latest Cars Tour winner, Connor Jones, who we haven't had on the show, and we wanted to talk to him about his big win at Tri-County, and of course, what he's doing in the Truck Series on a part-time schedule as well. So be sure to stick around for that in segment number 2. But Kyle mentioned Thompson Speedway was the place to be up in New England over the weekend, and let's talk about that tour race because Justin Bonsignor continues to write the record books. He is now third all-time in tour wins with his 43rd career win up at Thompson on Sunday. Of course, you mentioned battling the rain and trying to get the show moved along. Credit to everybody at Thompson for doing it because to jam-pack all those series and of course, with the tour having to condense their schedule, got it all in before Mother Nature. But what a race it was between, of course, he and Ron Silk. But just seemed like Ron didn't have much for him once Justin got by him there early on in the race.
Yeah, late race restart. Ron Silk had the lead. Justin had a slow pit stop on the pit lane, had to come up through traffic. Able to take the top spot away, and it looked like he was going to cruise to an easy win, his 43rd on the tour. And it's like his 100th at Thompson. I think it's like his 16th win at Thompson Speedway
14th.
Motorsports Park.
Yeah.
14th. And then Anthony Nocella came from about a straightaway back, and they are long straightaways at Thompson in the final 5 or 6 laps. I mean, he was coming and had to settle for second by less than a car length. But if it would have been the Thompson 151, we might have had a different outcome. But overall, a great race. And you're right. Kudos to the Thompson officials and the NASCAR officials. 20 minutes of practice. And within 30 minutes of the end of that practice, they were on the racetrack in competition. What was going to be a fairly long day for these teams to kind of figure out their race cars with an early practice, a qualifying session, and a race. Condensed, but they made the best of it.
Yeah, that's not an easy place, too, to tell drivers, well, you're going to really not have much practice, and then you got to go out and race, no qualifying. I mean, if you're going to do it anywhere, Thompson, that's a difficult place to do it and get to handling on your race car. So, yeah, kudos to everybody, and congratulations to Justin. Again, now second all-time with the wins at Thompson with 14. He did mention he brought back Old Faithful. Hadn't been on a racetrack since Martinsville last year. It's been sitting up on jack stands. And they said, what the heck? Let's put it together. Well, Old Faithful delivered as, again, he comes out with the win. And, of course, now the championship is super tight between him and Ron Silk. Patrick Emmerling's still there, about 21 points back as they go into North Wilkesboro with the Brushy Mountain Motorsports 150. Again, that was rescheduled from 2 weeks ago. Coming up this Sunday, 2 o'clock on Flow Racing. Let's talk super late models. The ASA Stars National Tour with one of our super late model crown jewels to end the year, the Winchester 400. A couple names at the front of the field, not exactly surprised with this one, with Cole Butcher holding off, though, Ty Majeski for the win. He took the lead with 59 to go against his Donnie Wilson Motorsports teammate. I was a little shocked that Ty couldn't get back to his back bumper and make it interesting, but Cole Butcher with a big crown jewel win over the weekend.
Yeah, it's a huge event. We've talked about it a couple of times here on this show, the Winchester 400, a long-standing tradition, run under some different sanctioning bodies over the years, but still great field of cars showed up. We also mentioned that you got to survive the race. I mean, Winchester is one of the toughest short tracks in the country, one of the oldest short tracks in the country. And like in most Winchester 400s, there were several big incidents, one off of turn 2 that collected about a dozen race cars. So survival was key, and they were able to get through the messes and settle the race amongst themselves. And congratulations to Cole Butcher, holding off one of the best in that region in Ty Majeski, who not only is he trying to win a truck championship, he's also running all these big Midwest super late model races and finding success at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. You know, a lot of drivers, especially on the NASCAR National Series, maybe if they're like, I mean, with the exception of maybe a Kyle Larson, because we know he's always going to run a sprint car race somewhere, even when he's, or actually, I think right now he's actually in Cabo at a wedding amidst the playoffs. But at the same time, for Ty Majeski to have to keep going and racing, obviously drivers want to stay in the seat, but to put all of his attention when he's away from the truck on his late model program, I mean, that's pretty impressive, too, to see the success. And we'll see if that translates. Of course, he still has eligibility to run for the championship if he can get it done here in the next couple of weeks. So, congratulations to Cole Butcher on his big win. Of course, Ty also had mechanical problems and still rallied back to second. Kyle Steckley finished in your top 3. Of course, coming up, the finale for the ASA Stars National Tour at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Another crown jewel, the All-American 400, coming up at the beginning of November. Now the Cars Tour, of course, our special guest this week picked up the checkered flag for the first time in 2024. Connor Jones on the late model stock side of things. A lot of drama. We talk about Talladega on the Cup Series and Xfinity Series and Truck Series side about saving fuel. Boy, the Cars Tour drivers had a lot of practice at saving fuel, Kyle. I think everybody at the start of the race started saving max fuel save over the course of the run, but for several drivers, they ran out of fuel. One did not at the end, and that was Connor Jones.
A lot of yellow, and obviously the caution laps don't count toward the event total, but they were big yellows. It just wasn't single car spins. It was 4, 5, 6 car pileups. Good field of cars, but unfortunately not all of them finished. About half of them finished. Connor Jones able to survive several late race restarts as his competitors ran out of fuel around him, including Minnie Tyrell, who fell out as the leader and held off Jared Fryer, Brendan Queen on a late race restart, challenge to the inside, Landon Huffman among the front finishers there. But a wild event as the Cars Tour begins to wind down their season. I feel like you mentioned drama. The Cars Tour has had a lot of it this year, from about lap 1 till the final couple of laps last week at Tri-County. I'm sure we'll see more in the run for the 2 championship battles this weekend at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
I was about to say, you want the height of drama. It'll be this weekend between Connor Hall and Brendan Queen, who are going to duke it out for the title. Late model stock tour this weekend. But I want to give a shout out too to Tri-County Speedway. They offered $5 tickets, and all the proceeds went to Hurricane Helene recovery efforts for those devastated in western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee. Really cool opportunity for the racetrack to give back, and it showed the response by the fans because they absolutely packed that place. And I know the folks in Western North Carolina are still reeling from the devastation. So lots of relief still headed that way, and Tri-County doing their part along with the Cars Tour. So kudos to all involved with that idea. Shout out to Caden Honeycutt, too, who picked up the Pro Late Model win. Tristan McKee thought he had another one in the bag, but was busted for a restart violation, jumping the restart. So Honeycutt and Spencer Davis now are going to battle for the championship Saturday at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Some other winners over the weekend. Burt Myers winning at South Boston for the first time in a Smart Modified Tour. Of course, his first win of 2024. But interesting enough, Kyle, had a little bit of drama. We like to use this word this week, drama, in the tech shed. There was a little bit of a miscommunication on the rules. It was made aware that Burt Myers had an 18-degree engine using a short booster that some of the officials thought was still legal. Apparently, on their most recent updated documents, it is not. It was made aware. So instead of trying to figure out, well, who's eligible for the championship, who's not, instead of going down to the championship 3, they're going to let all 5 drivers that were eligible at South Boston be eligible to run for the championship in the season finale at North Wilkesboro Speedway. So again, that is Burt Myers, who won this past weekend, Danny Bone, Luke Baldwin, Carson Lofton, and Ryan Newman. So what do you think about that? The Smart Tour, I guess, just saying, you know what, we're going to figure this out in the offseason. We're going to make all parties fair and have them go for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't totally understand it when I first read it. I thought the car had failed tech or something had happened in post-race tech. And watching some of the interviews on Flow after the event, that was not the case. The car was legal. Like you mentioned, some miscommunication from some officials to other officials. And because of that, we have expanded the championship field from 3 to 5. And that should make for a very interesting race come this Saturday at North Wilkesboro Speedway as the Smart Tour wraps up their season. So
Yeah.
going to be fun. Ryan Newman part of the battle, going for a Smart title, and then 4 drivers that have been in these modified ranks for a long time. Guys like Burt Myers and Danny Bone. So going to be fun. Going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and North Wilkesboro Speedway is going to be the place to be. When you look at the doubleheader with them and the Cars Tour, and then you got the Tour race on Sunday, I mean, holy cow. If you're in the area or can get to North Wilkesboro, please do so this weekend. It's going to be a must-watch event. Kyle Crump did also get a win over the weekend. The JEG CRA Winchester 100, of course, part of Winchester 400 weekend on Friday night. He did so after Carson Brown just absolutely smoked Stephen Nasse with 2 laps to go. Looked like those two were going to settle it for the win. The seas parted, and here comes Kyle Crump with the big win. And also congratulations to Brake Rowe. He finished in second in the race and locked up the JEG CRA title for 2024. Am I missing anything, Kyle? I know you were up at Stafford, but I'm pretty sure things are pretty much buttoned up in your neck of the woods as the temperatures begin to drop up there in New England.
Yeah, we had a swap meet at Stafford, so no racing on the half mile. Congratulations to a 3-time Stafford champion, Todd Owen. Won both of the 604 modified races over the weekend at Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park, having to fend off Keith Rocco both times in dramatic fashion on Sunday as they made contact at the start-finish line. Keith wasn't exactly happy with how Todd made the pass and sent Todd into the air as they crossed under the checkered flag. Made for a couple of great pictures, but little drama there as well at the end of the local racing scene up here in Connecticut.
See, it doesn't matter. It could be the National Series, it could be a local race. It doesn't matter. End of the year when things are on the line, things get heated. So, yeah, good stuff. Thank you so much, Kyle. All right. Well, our guest is standing on the phone next after we take this quick break. That is Connor Jones. We're going to talk about his Cars Tour win, his season, of course, a little bit NASCAR Truck Series as well as he continues to wrap up 2024. Connor Jones coming up next here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen Engineering.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelen products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. Whelen Engineering. Joining us now over the phone, our guest of the week, Cars Tour winner at Tri-County Speedway for Mike Darn Racing. It is Connor Jones, and not to mention also Connor having the part-time duties at the Thor Sport Camp for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. But Connor, congratulations, big Cars Tour win over the weekend, but it didn't come without some dramatics at the end of the race. What were your thoughts, first off, when Minnie Tyrell runs out of fuel? Did you think you had it in the bag at that point?
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how much gas we had, but I was saving. This race always comes down to a fuel mileage race, so I started saving early and never really stopped saving till the end. And that's the tough thing to get in a mentality is you got to sit there and cut it off, cut it back on, cut the car off, cut it back on, ride within neutral, push clutch in, chug within a fourth. You gotta figure out the happy medium on what saves gas the best. I think we just did a really good job of it over the weekend.
And after Minnie Tyrell ran out of fuel, there were a couple other restarts, and there were a few more drivers that also ran out of fuel. So how close were you there at the finish?
I did my burnout and ran out of fuel. I did. I got one spin. I got one little donut at the start finish line, and then we ran out of gas.
Talk us through the restarts, though, and what was going through your mind. Obviously, everybody's making sure they've got fuel in the pickup and things like that, but what was the game plan, especially with, the uncertainty of not only how much you have, but also the rest of the field as well?
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily sure. I was hoping for not another caution because when you ride around for that many laps, it definitely burns a lot more. And I mean, I was also just hoping to not get used up, which I didn't, which I was very, very happy about. And the restarts are really hard because you try to drive it hard, and then sometimes you'll end up getting into marbles or something, especially like Tri-County. I mean, Tri-County is really bad about it, but it's a really great racetrack.
Yeah, walk us through the pass for the lead there on the restart. You had Queen to your inside, but you muscled your way around to the outside lane and took the top spot away, and had to do it a couple times.
Yeah, that place is definitely tough to pass. The guy who's always on your top, on your outside, is going to have the better run, inevitably going down the straightaway. So if you can clear him on entry and kind of almost slide job him, you can. It's about the only way you can get by him on the bottom. And so, I mean, it's just really hard to pass there. Yeah.
What were the emotions like, Connor, afterwards? Obviously, getting your first Cars Tour win of the season. Obviously, for Mike Darn Racing, they're your whole group. But for you and your young career, I mean, where does this one stack up? What were you feeling after the race?
I don't know. There's a lot of emotions. It was really special one with the colors on the car. The blue represented breast or lung cancer awareness, and the pink outlining numbers was there for breast cancer awareness. And earlier this year, my grandma died of lung cancer, but she also had breast cancer, so I like supporting every sort of cancer I can. But also, a couple weeks before Tri-County, Mike Darn's dad died. So we definitely felt like we had someone riding passenger seat with us that weekend.
Wow.
That was able to help you get the victory lane here this past weekend. A lot of big names and a lot of big wrecks throughout the event. It was a wild race. Any close calls for you during the event?
Yeah. When Dylan Ward and all them spun down in a 3 and the caution didn't come out till we were already getting ready to come down in a 3, the leaders were. And I started slipping some oil or water or something that was down on the racetrack right there, and I about hit Dylan Ward head on. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that certainly avoided disaster there. But hey, I want to talk to you a little bit about, we have folks on the show. This is all about NASCAR Regional, kind of our grassroots racing and kind of where you've come from. So starting in Fredericksburg, Virginia, how the heck did you get to be a Cars Tour winner? Obviously, I know Dominion and Hickory were big stops on your early part of your career, but talk us through kind of where you started and where the racing bug began for you.
I don't know. I started when I was I think 4.5 years old at Capital City Speedway, running kid karts and champ karts and all that, all the go-karting type stuff. And then I went from that to arena racing, which is shut down now. I think they went bankrupt, and that was overall just a fun experience. We used to race these little mini cups on an indoor aluminum track in the Richmond Coliseum, and
wow.
Then I was racing Bandas at the same time I was doing that at Southside Speedway and Dominion Langley Summer Shootout. And then I went up to Legend Cars, ran all over in those, Dominion, Langley, Charlotte, Citrus County. I think we even ran the 5th mile back to Charlotte. I'm not sure. I can't remember that much. But I still think my favorite overall track that in a Legend car was Atlanta Motorsports Park. And that place was really fun. It's really fast, though. That was the only thing that made me a little nervous was how fast it was. But after we had a little bit of success in Legend cars, and we came up to the late models, and we've struggled, but I think we're finally hitting our stride where we can confidently go into each race thinking we have a chance to winning.
So you've been to a lot of different places, have seen a lot of different series. There's been a lot of talk about the Cars Tour this year. with the new ownership group and kind of how it has kind of blown up as far as one of the premier short track series, especially down in the Southeast. How do you see the health of the Cars Tour right now as we get toward the last event of the season coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's definitely gotten a lot more popular. But, I mean, it's still the same old Cars Tour to me. Everybody in there is just so good. It's so tough to win. It's so tough to even get a top 5 because everybody in there in that tour is so even. And, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not kidding. And it seems like, every week there's at least 10 to 12 drivers I feel like could go out and win, yourself included. So there's not really been a runaway favorite this year, which, I know the Tour, I'm sure, loves the fact that there's so much parity. But it's been fun to watch. Now, how has the Cars Tour, in your experience, running late models helped you, in the last 2 years now being part-time with ThorSport and running part-time in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series? Does a lot transfer from the late model to when you get a truck opportunity as far as just the racecraft and things like that?
The racecraft definitely, but the feeling of cars, no. I don't think anything handles kind of like a truck does. I don't even think a Super would, because I feel like with that tailgate, it just feels like you're swinging down in the corner. Like we're in a late model, the front leads you in the corner. I feel like in a truck, the rear leads you in the corner, and that's a tough concept to understand as a driver.
Final question for you from me. Rest of this season, obviously a big weekend this weekend at North Wilkesboro Speedway. What's left on your schedule for 2024, and what do you hope to have on your schedule come the turn of the calendar year in 2025?
So right now we've got the race at Wilkesboro. Then we have Homestead, Phoenix for the trucks. And then I think we have the Derby, Snowball Derby for the Super.
Couple big events for sure to wrap up 2024. Connor, before we let you go, obviously you just mentioned running the truck at Phoenix. What have you learned this year about the truck series, and I guess does some of this maybe springboard into 2025 for you?
Oh yeah, 100% it does. You go to all these tracks and you try to just learn and pick it up for next year, and so when you come back, you're better than ever.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to hearing what's to come for you, but best of luck coming up this weekend for the final Cars Tour race of the year, and, of course, running the truck at Phoenix. We'll see you out there in the desert. Connor, appreciate your time. Congratulations on the big win with the Cars Tour over the weekend.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. Connor Jones, big win at Tri-County Motor Speedway. And, of course, we'll wrap up the Cars Tour coming up this weekend. Still plenty to come here on Coast to Coast. We got the calendar and some news and notes, some names making some news here this week in the world of NASCAR regional racing. We'll tell you about it coming up next.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights, white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and warning systems for the automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Whelen products are designed, sourced, and manufactured in America and tested on site to meet the toughest industry standards. Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. We never left, and we're here to stay.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Whelen Engineering. Great conversation, and appreciate Connor Jones for joining us on the show. Of course, he's not done yet. Cars Tour wrapping up their season this weekend, and of course, he'll be in the truck at Phoenix. Some news and notes, though, Kyle, over the weekend. A driver we're pretty familiar with, and she also made her way through the NASCAR regional ranks in her career, Hailie Deegan. People are wondering, where did she go? What happened? Of course, ran for AM Racing in the Xfinity Series earlier this year. That opportunity went away. He's kind of bounced around, was doing some off-road trucks. She made an announcement. She's going to transition from fenders to an open cockpit next year, running Indy Next in the ladder to the NTT IndyCar Series full-time in 2025 for HMD Motorsports. Kyle, what do you think? Hailie on the move to possibly IndyCar next year.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hailie, a great personality for the sport, but never really found her footing, especially in the NASCAR National Series, several years in the Truck Series before making the move full-time. this year to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, or what was supposed to be full-time. That deal coming apart midsummer, just after the race in New Hampshire, I believe. Haven't really seen or heard much from her, but good to see that she's going to be back on the scene next year. Going to be a completely different discipline, which I think is what she's used to. Obviously grew up racing in off-road trucks and buggies, and before making the move into NASCAR's regional series. So we'll see how she does in the NASCAR or the Indy Next series. I think a 12-race schedule, 14-race schedule next year. A lot of different courses. It'll be some ovals, some road courses. So it'll be interesting to follow Haley along into the developmental series of what could ultimately land her in an IndyCar ride.
Absolutely. It'll be fun to watch. Good luck to Haley Deegan. Of course, that season begins at St. Petersburg, a brand new racetrack, the street course for Haley in March. And, of course, there's other tracks like Barber, and they also run several of the NTT IndyCar Series tracks as well. So best of luck to Haley on her new endeavor. Speaking of new endeavor, well, I guess second time of a new endeavor. Bubba Pollard inked another Xfinity race deal, trying to follow in the footsteps of Carson Kvapil. Of course, he made his debut for Junior Motorsports in that really good effort, sixth-place finish at Richmond earlier this year. He's going Toyota racing with Sam Hunt. Coming up at Martinsville, the penultimate race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series here next month. What are your thoughts on maybe another repeat performance like we saw at Richmond for Bubba Pollard, this time in a Sam Hunt prepare machine?
Yeah, if anybody can do it, it's going to be Bubba, and those Sam Hunt cars are always fairly strong. The penultimate race of the year at Martinsville, though, for the Xfinity Series, if you remember back last year, they're still under caution for the 20th time. I feel like it was one of the wildest races I have ever seen. So Bubba's smart. I think, being able to survive a lot of what we might see. If anybody can do it, it's him. So a great opportunity, a good race team at a track that he knows. Yeah, look for him to run, maybe toward the front of the field or at least in the top 10.
I think so for sure. And yeah, I was at that race for the Motor Racing Network, and what a wild night it was. I would expect the same when we get there in a couple weeks. Congratulations to Bubba. Final big newsmaker of the weekend was the ARCA Menard Series announcing the E-Series will have an event in 2025 at the Rockingham Speedway, which is making its return next year on the national calendar with the trucks and Xfinity running on Easter weekend in April. They're now going to add ARCA East. Kyle Arca has not been there since 2010 when Ty Dillon won a race, but they've had 5 races dating back to ARCA's inception there at the Rock. What do you think of Rockingham? Is it going to suit the ARCA East machines in 2025?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they run Dover as an ARCA East event, which is a 1-mile concrete oval. Rockingham, obviously, a 1-mile asphalt oval, a very worn and torn asphalt oval, but going to be fun to watch. They'll be part of their big weekend there with the trucks and the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Hopefully it's supported. The ARCA Menards East averages 15, 18 cars, and hopefully they can get a few of the national teams there as well, like what we saw this year with the ARCA East teams participating in the national races. So if they get a good field, it could be a really good show and a great weekend of racing there at the Rock.
I think so too, and especially if you're a truck or Xfinity driver and you've never been to the Rock, why not maybe look for an ARCA East opportunity? We've seen several do so this year. So going to be fun to see what happens next year in 2025 at the Rock. Now let's get to the calendar. Some big races, again, capping off seasons and championships in 2024. First up, the Cars Late Model Stock Tour and the Pro Late Models will settle championships at North Wilkesboro Speedway in a huge weekend, a doubleheader at North Wilkesboro. First on Saturday evening for Cars Tour. Again, 2 championships will be crowned. Brendan Butterbean Queen has a narrow lead on Connor Hall. Those two have traded blows over the course of the season. Kyle, it's going to come down to who beats who has the upper hand going into North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, Connor Hall had some issues last weekend at Tri-County, which gave Brendan Queen the championship point lead. I think he has momentum on his side right now. Runs well at North Wilkesboro Speedway. I think he may have the upper hand going into championship this weekend. Spencer Davis, the Pro Late Model Championship point leader. I don't think he has as much pressure. I think all he has to really do is show up, start the event, and run somewhere up toward the top half of the field to pick up his championship. Yep,
that's right. Caden Honeycutt's still mathematically eligible, but you're right. Yep. Spencer Davis has a little bit of more of a cushion. But don't forget, this race had a lot of drama earlier in the summer. This is where Trayton Lapsevich won the race. There was controversy in the tech shed, the appeals process after he was DQ'd. He was given the win back. see. You never know what's going to happen at North Wilkesboro, and hopefully that doesn't happen to decide a championship. But again, that's coming up on Saturday night. The Smart Modified Tour in conjunction with the Cars Tour on Saturday. They're going to kind of split the Pro Late Model and the Late Model stocks and have the Smart Modified Tour kind of run in the middle. 5 drivers, again, we talked about in segment 1, are eligible for the championship. Ryan Newman, Danny Bone, Carson Lofton, Luke Baldwin, and Burt Myers. Myers maybe has a upper leg being the most recent winner, Kyle, but I would have to think you go with the hot hand all year, which was Carson Lofton this season.
Yeah, from the first green flag of the year, Carson's been tough, led the championship point standings, I think a majority, if not the entire season. He'll be tough to beat. Danny Bone, been a veteran of the Tour and a veteran of Southern Modified Racing for so many years. Would be cool to see him challenge, and it would be cool to see everybody challenge for the title. Ryan Newman, obviously, with his status in motorsports, coming back to modified racing several years ago now, after hanging up the helmet full-time in the national scene. It'd be pretty cool to see him celebrate a championship on the regional level as well. So a lot of great storylines sprinkled through what should be a fantastic race on Saturday night. They're looking at a pretty healthy car count for their event as well. So a lot of stories within the field and including 5 running for the championship.
Yeah, anytime you have a race at North Wilkesboro, it's going to bring out a lot of cars to run at that historic racetrack. So it'll be fun to watch. Of course, King Luke Baldwin as well has been good this year. So again, that's at 7:15-ish scheduled time on Saturday to kind of interrupt the Cars Tour Pro and Late Model stocks. Then on Sunday, we've got more ground pounders. It's NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, Brushy Mountain Power Sports 150 at 2 o'clock, the penultimate race in their season. Of course, they end at Martinsville coming up in about a week and a half's time. Ron Silk, Justin Bonsignor again, 5-point lead for Ron Silk. That's it. And it was as close as 1 point coming into this past weekend at Thompson. My question is, Kyle, obviously those two are going to settle it out, and both are really good at North Wilkesboro, but can Patrick Emmerling, 21 points, you think he can close?
72 hours ago, I would have said yes. And then I watched him race at Thompson Speedway, and he was never really a factor. Mid-pack at best, barely saw him in the top 5. Did not look like the same Patrick Emmerling that dominated at Thompson back in August and has won several races since. So I think it's going to be between the 2 drivers that we have talked about the most here the last several seasons, Silk and Bonsignor, who has momentum on his side coming off of a win at Thompson, a high-banked 5/8 mile racetrack heading to North Wilkesboro. Not as banked, but also a 5/8 mile racetrack down there in North Carolina.
And we'll have to see when the entry list comes out. Matt Hirschman is the defending winner of this race, so if he's in the field, he could interrupt the championship party as well. And a pretty cool story, Melissa Fitfield's wedding venue, because she's getting married to Hunter Smith, I believe is his name, coming up in November, is actually the sponsor on her car. She's making her 158th modified start with the Tour, and it's called the Yellow House on a black modified. Pretty cool. I don't know. I never thought of having my wedding venue my sponsor, but hey, whatever works. Congratulations to Melissa and future husband Hunter Smith on getting that sponsorship with their wedding venue. Anyways,
Yeah, Melissa, a longtime campaigner on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, started up here in the Northeast in legend car racing, Bandoleros, kind of worked her way up the ladder, ran in the Modified Racing Series for a long time before making the transition to the Tour several years ago. And haven't seen her the last couple of weeks as she has moved down south with her soon-to-be husband down in the Mooresville, North Carolina area. And she'll be running this weekend, and we'll have her wedding venue as her sponsor, the Yellow House. I know she's been doing a lot of promotion with them in this last couple of weeks leading up to the race. So looking forward to seeing Melissa back on the racetrack here this weekend.
Absolutely. Early congratulations to them on the nuptials. Now some early or some other races going on. Kevin Harvick did announce he's going to run at Las Vegas at the Bull Ring for the Cars Tour West Series. A lot of people forget there is a Cars Tour West Series that is running. And of course, that's coming up on Friday, all a part of NASCAR weekend out there in the desert, the Star Nursery Classic at the Bull Ring. It's actually going to be broadcasted for the first time on Flow Racing. So you folks at home can watch it Friday night. I'm sure it'll be a little bit of a later start being it's on the the West Coast time zone. But Kevin Harvick back in a late model at the Las Vegas Bull Ring. Also NASCAR Weekly Racing at Riverhead and the Past 400 weekend at Oxford, a couple-day event out there at Oxford Plains. Kyle, I don't think I missed anything if I did chime in, but if not, who is our driver of the week this week?
Let's see, the New London Waterford Speed Bowl also racing this weekend here in
Perfect.
Connecticut. They have a 3-day show, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, including the modifieds for 100 laps. Of course, all the modifieds that are up here that aren't in North Carolina, because that's where I think of the bulk of them will be. My driver of the week, Anthony Nocella, going from the back of the pack in the Monaco Modified Tri-Track race on Saturday night to finish in third, and then falling less than a car length short and picking up that NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour win. Also had to start at the back of that race because that team had not run, no qualifying for the Tour. So started outside of the top 20 and was able to pick his way through traffic to finish in the second spot. So a fantastic weekend for Anthony and both of his race teams at the Thompson Speedway. So he is my driver of the week.
Yeah, driver of the week, also hard charger of the week, probably passed the most race cars of anybody over the weekend. So congratulations to Anthony. Well, K-Rick MRN is off again this weekend, of course, out in Las Vegas, his race weekend. I'll actually be out there helping out the NBC crew, but looking forward to getting back on the air when we go to Homestead next week. But what are your plans? Are you going to head to New London Waterford Speed Bowl this weekend?
Oh, yeah. Weather looks good. 70 degrees both days and sunshine. So if that forecast holds up here in the next 3 days, I'll be there. Got a concert on Friday night. So
who's the concert? Who's the concert?
You probably have never heard of her.
Probably not, but what's her name?
Leanne Rimes.
Oh, wow. Of course. Oh, that's a heck of a concert. Get you some,
Row
Kyle.
2.
Row 2? Oh, well, you better get her autograph for me or something.
Be eye contact.
Okay, well, we need video proof, but K-Rick's going to be right there with Leanne Rimes. Good stuff. Awesome. Well, thanks, Kyle. Enjoy your weekend up there with racing, and, of course, we'll talk about it all next week. Okay, and then thank you again, folks, for tuning in to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Whelen Engineering, manufactured in America for over 70 years. Whelen Engineering. For K-Rick, for our producer, Pat Jaggers, I'm Chris Wilner. We will talk about it all next week. Enjoy your weekend of NASCAR regional racing.